Hey spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to Let's Play Transport Fever. We have our first little train route going, and the main thing we're waiting for now is how do we continue to expand our empire. We're making quite a little bit of money, but what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to find a second city, and I'm thinking our good old friend West Valley City looks like a pretty good candidate. So where do we want to set up our passenger rail system? Now typically I would set it up somewhere near one of these tram stations, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set it up over here somewhere. Maybe I'll set it up over here. I'm thinking we generally want it to be near the tram because we want the tram to essentially deliver to the station, to the train station. So let's see if we can squeeze in a passenger station over here. Yeah, if we put this here, this will be like a terminal station, so this will be where it ends. And we could stick it here and then connect to the road. And then we'll just drive out in various directions. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to place it down here eventually, but what we want to do first is, you can see, look at the town. The town has begun to grow. And if I go in here into the charts, you can see there's been a little bit of a dip, but now there's been some growth back up. The town looks very much so different from when we started. And we're not really moving a huge amount of passengers. Like, there's only ever a few people, but we don't really carry many, you know? This thing can only carry like 5 people. So let's have a look at the profitability matrix. So we're still bleeding a little bit of money, but again, we're not super duper trying to make a lot of money right now. What we're trying to do is set up our infrastructure so that we're ready to make money later. So I'm thinking we're going to connect West Valley City up to a tram network. I'm going to take out $1 million loan. I think you can take up to a 10 million, so I'm going to take out just another $1 million because I don't want to pay too much interest right now at this stage of the game. I'm paying about 70k maybe a year on interest loan right now. So we're going to go in here and we're going to set up a tram station over here. See if I can get them to play nice. Oh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade the roads that I want to use. I'm going to want to turn off this so I can just see. So the route that I want to do here is I want to go through the industrial zone, I want to go through the commercial zone, and I want to go through the residential zone. That's always going to be, the tram is sort of the high capacity route, so that's the one you're always going to want to use. You're always going to, oh, I accidentally killed 2 buildings there. I didn't mean to do that. That was an expensive mistake. But thankfully houses are the least expensive thing to delete in the early game. For example, if you look at like maybe these houses, 25k, 100k, but if you go over to some of these factories, it's like 400k and 450k and stuff like that. Generally speaking, a little bit more expensive. But I'm going to downgrade this road because it's distracting me. It's going to be just a little country road. Like so. So let's get our tram route over here. So this is going to be the end of the line for this thing. See if I can get this adjusted to fit neatly. Right. You know what? I'm going to upgrade this road to a... there. And then I'll stick down this guy neatly there. Then I'm going to want to upgrade the road itself to be tram capable, and you always want the upgraded roads. And the reason I upgrade the roads down here, it's a long-term decision. Basically what it does is it means buses and trams can pass each other on this road, so they don't clog up and get in each other's way. Or generally speaking, or at least that's the idea, right? That's the hope. Sometimes they still do clog each other up, but generally speaking, they'll be good about it and not get too clogged. Okay, we're also going to want a tram station over here. So let me adjust that to fit neatly. Terrain collision. There. And I'm also going to want a... I think I'll stick down the other end. I'll stick a... road vehicle depot. So similar to the other town, we're going to want to set up some stuff here, mainly in the form of passenger stations. So we're going to want to be dropped off at the industrial line. We're going to want to be dropped off here as well. We want to be dropped off here because this is the commercial center. We also want to be dropped off here because this is the edge of the commercial center and the residential. We're going to want to be dropped off here. And then finally, right along here. So that's going to be the main tram route. The tram is going to go along all of these stations and then back. And then we're also going to be having some bus stations to catch these edge cases out here. Like so. And there'll be a little bit of shenaniganry. So generally speaking, we want to travel through yellow and we want to travel through all three zones when we make a route. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to turn on this only show visible lines route, and this will basically hide all of these things because they're not on screen. So now we can't see them, but if I go back over to Fort Lauderdale, they reappear. If I, for example, if I look at the edge of Fort Lauderdale, some of them appear and disappear. If I just look at this train route, I can just see this particular route. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can have a much better, much clearer view of the map. And you can even subcategorize, like I only want to see bus routes, I only want to see airplanes and stuff like that. And believe it or not, there are airplanes in this game. So this is going to be the, what the hell was the name of this city? West Valley City? West Valley, so we'll call it the WC. Line manager, we'll call this the Dub C Tram 1. And so we're going to get started here at the West Valley City Central. We're going to go along the tram route, again, just like normal. Then we're going to come back down it. This is the important part, because it's it makes sure that people get brought in both directions along this route. And this is going to connect the residential, the commercial, and the industrial zones together. Then we're going to create another route, and this is going to be the WC Bus 1. Alright, again, we want to always be trying to connect green, blue, and yellow in a single route. So this is going to be the bus route for this. Let's start adding some of these things like this. Like that. So that's going to be, yeah, that's going to be another route. It kind of follows similar routes, but basically what it does is it picks up the people from these houses and brings them to the thing. Then we're going to make another route. This is that was bus 1. We're going to create another line. This is going to be WC bus 2. It's going to go over to again, it's going to pick up people from here, and then it's going to bring them down through to the industrial zone and then back. Like so. So people get carried out to certain areas that might not be covered normally. So we'll get rid of that now. And then we'll create another line. There's quite a few lines in this town because it got a little bit weird. This will be the WC Bus 3. This one is going to go from here, following similar sorts of paths. And then it'll go back and forth along that line. So that's bus 3. Do I need a bus 4? This area over here doesn't seem like it would be very good traffic-wise. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make a route that goes up and down like this, because people might want to come along here to shop. So let me make a new line. This will go from here down this way, just straight down and up like this. I'm not gonna worry too much about that, and that'll be WC Bus 4. Okay, so we have our bus and tram route set up. Let's buy some trams for this now. I'm thinking again. I like 4. 4 seems like a decent number of trams for a city, and we're going to assign you to the WC Tram 1. Then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to buy some of those little carts. I'm going to buy, again, I don't want to go overboard this early in the game, so I'm just going to buy, how many routes is there? Looks like there's 4 bus routes, so I'll get 4 buses. I'm going to assign you to W Bus 1. I'm going to assign you to WC Bus 2. I'm going to assign you to Route 3. I'm going to assign you to Route 4. So now we have a bus in each route. And we can see they're moving out. they've started to build the route. So now that we have 2 sets of transportation lines, we're going to want to set up our actual train lines. So let's get started on that front. We're going to grab here a passenger. Want to make sure we have a passenger train selected. I don't want to make that mistake again because that was kind of embarrassing, and you know what, it happens more often than you would think. Now I'm curious, where's this train? Are you actually carrying food? Are you going to deliver that food? You are carrying some food. So you can see the train route is working perfectly as intended. It's picking up cattle and grain and livestock. It's bringing it over to here, and then it's depositing the food that it picks up over here, which is exactly what we wanted. So we'll see here. This train route should actually start making money now. If I go zoom out, yep, we're just barely making profit on this train. So this is a good little train route that we've got going. And not only that, but the trams in here now, they've been around long enough, and the town has grown enough to the point that the people are now using the tram enough that it was just barely making money. It's not quite making money anymore, but we're starting to break even on some of these routes, and to the point where we might want to consider adding more cars to them. But we want to be careful about overloading our routes. There's really not a lot of people this early in the game. Like this town has a population of like 170, which isn't a lot at all. So there's really not a lot of people to transport around. Okay, so let's actually place the station. I'll build a road that'll connect it in a rational manner in a moment. Oh, I didn't actually mean to place it there, but we'll kind of just live with it. I'm gonna terrain alignment collision. That's not ideal. And I don't want that to quite hit like that. I will live with the fact that I've just killed a house, but now this train station is pretty well connected to the infrastructure of this town. So anyone who wants to go to the train station should probably get off at this bus station here, and then they'll instantly get onto the train station. So we're going to make some changes to this sort of thing. We're actually going to make this a 2-platform station, which is an expensive mistake that I made to not do that, because I think it's more expensive to upgrade than it is to build. So now it's 2 lines, and then this line is going to go all the way over to here. I like to place them near the residential stuff. Although I guess there is no harm in placing it over here near this stuff. So let me grab the... can I safely delete that piece of road? I can. And then I can place down my train route nice and tightly into there. I prefer to have it near the residential, but I can live with it being near the... like that. So now this train is right near where it needs to be. So now we're going to have to take out probably another $1 million loan to build the actual railway line. You know what I've done? I've made the same mistake again. I forgot to make this a 2-wide track. That is an expensive mistake. It is definitely an expensive mistake, and I probably could have angled it a little bit better because it's going to go along this road probably a little bit too closely. We're going to angle out like this, and we're going to pretty much follow this road along. I think that's like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I want to avoid... I think I might have to remove that field. That's another expensive thing. But the good thing is the land over here is relatively flat, so we don't need to worry too much. So I want to cross this road, but I have to be careful how exactly I do that. Like that. Then I want to angle slightly towards this guy. I'm going to come from the other direction now. So wait, I need to ask myself which... I came from this side, so I want to come from the same side over here when I'm doing it. And this is actually the part of the game where I was having issues recording before. Whenever I was dragging these things out, the performance gets really, really poor in the game. So where exactly am I trying to connect to? I'm trying to connect over to here. So now I could let the game just build that, right? That'll be 500k. Let's have a look at that route. See, is there a lot of terrain movement? There is a bit of terrain modification. That's an expensive thing. I could probably save a bit of money here by turning a little bit extra to avoid that field. And I did. I managed to save probably a couple 100k by turning just to avoid that farmer's field, because I think you have to pay extra money to clear out a field. And then what we can do is we can simply just build a second track, and when we hold it near this track, it'll sort of snap along, and that'll give us 2 lanes. Pretty much just build it along like so. It'll just extend it. Looking good. And again, and now we reach up with our second station. So now these two places are connected with a train tracks, but it's not quite ready because there's a few things we need to do. The first thing that we need to do is we need to create an in-out system. So basically what we want to do is we want to have trains come in on the right-hand track, land in the station, drop off their passengers, pick up passengers, and then leave on the right-hand track as well. So in order to do that, we need to actually make a track crossover. Like this. And it only needs to be about, it doesn't need to be maximum speed. About 50 kilometers is a good enough speed. Because your trains, they're just leaving the station, they're not going to be going very fast anyway. And I like to have a second crossover because sometimes I'm hopeful that sometimes the trains, if like this is already occupied, it'll like sweep into the second slot. They don't always do that, but I have seen them do it, so I'm hopeful that that is why that does that. Otherwise, you just need one crossover. And now we need to do the same thing again. So the train comes in, it leaves on the right, and it comes in on the right from the train's perspective. So we'll make another crossover. About 50 kilometers an hour is a good speed because they're like, this is for long-term trains because they're never really going to get faster than 50 coming out of the station, right? Because there's a maximum speed that you're allowed to leave a station at. So that's that. These are now connected. So I need to do some more stuff actually. I'm going to grab a depot. Now I could stick the depot here. I mean, I don't know if this actually works. I've never tried this. But I can't imagine that trains would actually be able to turn if I did that. I'm going to move this along. So it is a right-hand drive. Yes. So I want this to... Excuse me. I want this to be on the way that sends trains along the right-hand drive to the closest station. I want to drag from this to here, like so. Okay, so that's got us started, right? So the very first, now we need to get an actual train, and we need to take out another loan. We're up to 7 million on our loan. I don't really like to go much higher than about 8 million. So I'm going to try and keep this price down. I'm going to keep it down by just having 2 small passenger trains like this. So we also need to make an actual train route for this. We're going to create a new line. This is going to go from this passenger station all the way over to this passenger station. We're going to call this the FLWC Passenger Line 1. So this is the FLWC Passenger Line 1. Then we're going to grab these trains and we're going to set them to the FLWCP Line 1. And these trains should leave this station. Now there's one other thing that we need to do to make sure that these trains work in a happy manner, and that is to use signals. So basically what we need to do is we need to tell the trains, hey look, this piece of track isn't occupied, you can go through it no problem. We're going to want to put a signal over here. You just want to have signals, spread out a decent distance apart from each other, and you want to keep an eye on it because sometimes they get a little bit funky. We want this train to, when they come out, we don't want them to stop right here. So we're gonna put the signal a little bit further away, and then we can just double up the signals. It doesn't look like we really need one over here. So these guys are now moving along the tracks. We can just go, hey, you're going this way. Why don't you stop there? And there. I will have a couple of signals in between these. And then we'll do another couple over here. We'll do another couple over here. The spacing doesn't need to be exact. It just needs to be close enough that the trains aren't waiting for a long time for a piece of track to come available, but far enough apart that you're not wasting money. Okay, and then we'll come from this angle as well. So we want this guy to come in this way, and then we want the next one to be back up this way a little bit, and then we'll put one in between these as well, over here. Okay, so that's the signaling done. So the trains now, they will take turns going about their business. So people should start using those. And we can speed up time and watch the money roll in. Now the money probably won't roll in too quickly, because a lot of these routes, they're not going to be profitable for a long time. As you can see, we're kind of, I wouldn't say we're bleeding money, but we are losing money. So let's have a look at the FL buses and stuff like that. The tram line is now actually barely profitable, so I do feel more comfortable going in here and adding another tram to it. So I'm going to buy this tram and I'm going to assign it to the FL Tram 1 line. And what that will do is it'll make the service more frequent, and thus people will be more likely to use it because they don't have to wait around for a long time, right? You can see some road over here just got upgraded, I think, and there's road upgrades being done left and right and center. I'm also going to buy some more buses. Oh, that's the tram station. The bus station is what I want to. I'm going to get another 3 horse carriages. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to assign them each to one of the lines. And essentially what we've done there is we've doubled the capacity of those lines. It probably won't do a huge amount for these lines, but it'll make people a little bit more likely to use them. Or at least that's the hope, right? That's annoying. The way they built this makes this bus kind of silly now. I might have to edit that bus route too. So let me see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete 10, and then I'm going to delete, or no, I'm going to delete 2 and 10, and then I'm going to actually delete that station here. And as we play, the bus stations will get a little bit more spread out. Just I like to have them close together in the early game. So now this route makes a little bit more sense. It's a less silly route, but it still has a bit of silliness to it. The town built in a kind of a foolish way, so I'm actually going to try and fix that by deleting these, and then I'm going to build it a more reasonable road. Something like that. Come on, don't be weird. Yeah, like that. So it'll actually have room to build in here. That's something you have to watch out for. Like this sort of stuff here, the town doesn't need to do this. I'm going to fix it for the town, so that it has a sensible place to build. Like for example here, I can do this. And yeah, you know, you kind of just have to help the town out a little bit as it grows, because they don't use their space smartly, and they don't build roads intelligently. So you just need to keep an eye on it and say, hey, look, what are you guys doing? No, don't do this. Oh, and you know what? Something I had forgotten to do was to actually build some roads for this town. Like this. Now it should be possible to build a road through here without hurting those buildings. Just need to get the right angle. I mean, it looks like it should be possible, but I guess it isn't. Probably a smaller one then. Oh, you know what? I might need to take out another loan here, because we are bleeding money. We'll probably bleed money for a while as our system sort of builds up capacity and these towns grow. If you look here, for example, this town is growing now, so it's going to have more people who are willing to use our route. It's going to demand more goods, and so on and so forth. So what we're probably going to want to do is add another train to this line, because it looks like we're not quite moving enough goods. So if I go in here and I check this guy, he's got 28 to 28. I'm a little bit surprised they're not sending more food over to this station, because there is demand for that food. It's not a big deal. What we can do is we can extend this line out to this town and then drop off food here or somewhere, so that the this town also gets access to it. But you can see we're making decent money now if we go check in here. We're mainly being carried by this food line, but that's totally fine because that was the goal, right? It was supposed to be the earner that does the job to carry the other line. So let's speed up time here and just watch things and see if we're actually making money. Just for maybe a year. We'll wait until 1855 or thereabouts. You can see, have a look at some of these routes. For example, this WC tram route is actually profitable, just barely. So that means it can probably deserve an extra tram or two. So I'll buy another tram and I will assign that to the WC tram line. And what that'll do, again, it'll just make the service a little bit more frequent, and thus the throughput will go up. It will increase the costs of it, but that's a sort of, that's a worthwhile thing. More people being moved more frequently. So, for example, like you can see people all along here, they're looking to use the trams. In fact, I actually think the tram might even need maybe another tram. So I'll go up to 6 trams here on this one. And again, the bus routes are feeder systems. They're just extra little. They kind of mesh with the tram system. They're not trying to compete with it. They're trying to provide support for the people who live on the periphery and stuff like that. Like you kind of want to build a realistic system. You want to make sure you're grabbing the bulk of the transportable people, but you also want to make sure you're not leaving some people behind and out of service. I'm a little bit concerned that not enough food isn't making it to this. There's a lot of food stored up here. You can see all the food gathered, but it's not actually making it to this. And I think it might be because this town isn't actually demanding enough food. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a truck station. I'm going to take out a $500,000 loan to do this. I don't want to go too much more into debt. I'm about at my debt limit, but I want to get somewhere close to all of these commercial buildings. Over here might be good enough. I would have really liked it to be right here. See if I can just adjust this to fit in without killing anything. Now it looks like I might have to... I'll have to build it over here. But that's okay. It'll work as a feeder for industry as well. So we're going to build a truck station here. And then we're also going to build a truck station over here. I think the problem is that this train station doesn't actually reach enough of the commercial zone stuff. So it's not really fully demanding the food from here. You can see here the details. Yeah, look at that. That's how much is being demanded by this route. So what I need to do is I need to go in here and I need to create a truck route from this train station. Can I squeeze you in there? You will not fit. Oh, you will just barely fit in there. But I like to have a little bit of extra room, so I'm gonna put you right there. So now we can set up a truck route from here to here, and I'm going to grab just a couple of road vehicles. Grab a couple of these horse wagons. I'm going to buy, let's say, I'll buy 4 of them. I'm going to set them to all be grain. Or no, sorry, I want to set them all to be food. That's what I want to do. I want to set them all to be food. Now that they're all set to be food, I also need to create the line that they're going to use. So yet another line in this town. It's going to go from this here to here, and that's it. That's just all it's going to be, and it's going to be the FL Food Truck Line 1. And hopefully, the goal here is hopefully that it will increase the demand that this city has for food by offering a route for this food that's trying to make it to this town to go through the station, then land in this depot, and then get dropped over here near all this industry. You can see this truck station reaches a lot of the town, whereas this train station only reaches this kind of edge over here. So I'm hoping that this will provide the coverage that the town needs. So if we go over here to the potential, we'll speed up time here, and hopefully this potential number will go up. I'll kind of bring this with me and keep it up here so that we can keep an eye on it. Now we are still kind of losing money. It looks like people really do want to use these trams over here. Is this tram line still profitable? It is still just barely profitable. I could probably add another tram or two to the route and it would still do really good. Aha, look at this. Yes, okay, so the potential. So it looks like we did the right thing. The potential amount of food that they want to transport over here has increased now significantly. So we should see this start to fill up with more food. This is looking at how much food can be sent to the customers. So this in theory now should start to fill up with some extra food. 18, 19, yeah, it's going up a little bit. And that means, and if we look at the potential that it's sending, and it looks like 54 is how much this town is demanding, and it looks like it's trying to send 59. So that about matches up. This train just dropped off another load. It's pretty profitable. So the FL tram that we added another tram to, it looks like that extra tram made it unprofitable, which is kind of what we were hoping for a little bit. That sounds kind of weird. Hey, we were hoping that this would make the route unprofitable. Looking at these guys, it looks like these trains could use extra capacity. So that's going to be something I do here in a little bit. I'm going to send them off to depots. So what I need to do is I need to make a route that lets the what I need to do is I need to delete these signals, go like this, and merge these tracks. Okay, it's a little bit tricky to get this to do this what you want. Let me delete here, okay? I'm gonna drag out like this. Then I'm gonna delete here. It wasn't supposed to delete that whole thing. Okay, like this. And then this is gonna connect over to too much curvature, so I think I need to move back along the line a little bit. Too much curvature, so I need to move back along again. Okay, there we go. So now this means I can send trains to the depot a little bit easier. Construction not possible, that's interesting. Too much curvature. There we go. So now we can send trains in and out of this depot. What I'm going to do is grab this guy. You're going to want to wait. So like that. We'll delete this. And then over here there'll be another signal. And then that looks all good to me. Okay, so we want to head now over to this train that's coming back the ways. Yep. And so what I'm going to do is once this train lands in this station and picks up people, I'm going to send it to the depot. Before it picks up passengers to go get upgraded. Now there is a thing that you can do in here. It's really expensive though. For example, I can set up a replacement vehicle to be like this and then go, oh yeah, just add this stuff. But if I replace now, like, it's really expensive to do this. Whereas I can just, well, I mean, is it that expensive? I could pay 300k to get this train refreshed with an extra passenger thing. And you know what? I'll pay that. Because it'll mean it's closer to being profitable. You can see these guys, look, they're just barely bleeding money. So a train upgrade will do the trick, I think. Looks like the food line is doing a good job. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to call this an end to this episode. I want to thank you all very much for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying this series. Please remember to subscribe if you want to see more from me. Remember, leave a like if you want to directly support my channel. And go ahead and leave a comment if you want to give me your feedback. Other than that, I want to say I love you all very much. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.